Everybody just joining us. We got Firefly AI again. They're here every week. Mike is here, Jay, Irene, Mr. Hawk.
Hawk's my protege.
All right.
I'm gonna have to introduce you guys.
Yes.
That is good. Do you I think we're live. Are we live? I think we're live.
Yes.
All right. Hey everybody, welcome.
Uh-oh.
Against Tax Solutions Deferred Sales Trust Mastermind, and excited to have everyone with us today. And we're talking a couple things like we do every single week. We're talking about how to help people defer capital gains taxes on the exit of highly appreciated assets, such as a primary home, a business, real estate, cryptocurrency, NFTs, so you can create and preserve our wealth to help your clients, friends, and family do the same. For those who don't know me, my name is Brett Swarts, and I'm founder of Capital Gains Tax Solutions. But I'm always joined by two amazing gentlemen, two business partners of mine. One is the Pierce York out of Newport Beach, luxury realtor and Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast host. Pierce, how are we doing today?
Doing fantastic. Almost as good as you. Yeah.
You had to scramble for your keys there, but you made it out, huh?
Got it. Yep.
You're looking good. You're looking good today. Your video sounds great too. I mean, your video always looks good, but your sound sounds really robust as well.
Awesome.
And I'm also joined by Jake Miller. Sorry, I keep cutting you off. I think because I'm delayed for a second, but I'll try to slow that down. Jake Miller, excited to have you on again. Jake Miller is financial advisor, CPA Whisperer. Jake, where do your travels take you today?
So obviously I'm from Utah. I have a house in Utah, soon to have a house in Kansas. Today, though, I'm in the wonderful tropical country of Colombia.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Your hair is looking great today. Does your hair do better in Colombia versus the States? Like, do you feel like you got better? It's like better moisture down there.
I literally don't have to put anything in my hair down here because the moisture, it just goes like this.
Beautiful.
It's like your soul glow. You guys remember that one?
That's right. Very nice.
Great. So,
Brad,
Jake, can you give us? Yeah.
I was just going to ask. I mean, where do your travels take you today? You're actually literally on the way somewhere.
Yeah. So here's the clan. We're here. We're traveling. We're live. People, where are we going today? Where are we going? Anybody? Six Flags, right? It's Marine World. We're going to see the dolphins jump. No longer the Free Willy. They banned the Free Willy out here, understandably so. But the dolphins are still able to jump and not be free, which is interesting. I think someone's had to fight for the dolphins' rights. Yeah, we'll do some roller coasters. We'll do some family time. So that being said, Jake, give us a little bit more about the vision, and then we'll dive into the deal close story of the week.
The reason we are all here today is for all of those people who have highly appreciated assets that would otherwise suffer a capital gains consequence, a tax, should they sell that highly appreciated asset without doing the proper planning and receiving the proper guidance of which we provide. And we bring all the relevant professionals to the table to make sure that the correct outcome or the most positive outcome can happen for the client, that they know from the beginning how to exit this highly appreciated asset in the most tax efficient way. And we love doing it because not any one client is too similar to the next. And so every new client is a new adventure. And we work really well with other professionals. In fact, on this call, likely we'll have attorneys, we'll have CPAs, we'll have other financial advisors, we'll have big business owners. And even if they're not on this call today, Brett, they often watch it afterwards. And where do they watch it?
I think watch it on YouTube. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Pierce.
I was just going to say YouTube, Facebook, Kingdom Luxury Realty, Kingdom Luxury Facebook, Capital Gains Tax Solutions YouTube.
Strategic
expertcrsecrets.com as well.
Strategic
Expert CRE Secrets.
Yep. So
we're all over
any number of different places. They can go to the gym, they can be working out, pumping iron, listen to the podcast, whatever. We try to make this information as public as we possibly can, just so that more of the people out there can hear, as they would say here in Colombia, las buenas nuevas, or the good news. They can understand what's going on and how to take advantage of it, whether or not this would work for them. Because again, Brett and I were incredibly focused on helping people know from the very beginning so that nobody wastes any time. Is this a solution that could work for you? And if not, maybe there's some other people we could refer you to for your specific situation.
So Pierce, who does this work for? Who would you say is a good fit? Who does it work for?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was actually just having this conversation, and I'm gonna do a little shout out really quick to Irene. I see she's on the thing here, and we were actually talking about this last night. So typically, our criteria is $1 million net proceed and $1 million gain, and the reason it has to be like that is because the pain has to be enough. So
what kind of pain, Pierce? What kind of pain?
The pain of writing that check to just our government over there who is
now, it's not like we don't like our government, right? But like if we have a big old investment that's this big and we got to chop it all up so that we can reinvest into the next project, and chopping it all up because we're deciding, we're reactively deciding to give the government their share now rather than later. Right. We're not as capable of doing as much as we could. Should we be able to invest the whole pie, right?
Absolutely. There's just a little piece of me and probably a lot of other people on this call that just think that we can be wiser stewards of some of the resources. And so we would like to invest that and help the economy in our way instead of just give it all to the government, or at least a huge chunk of it to the government. So that $1 million gain, depending upon your state, will be anywhere from, 200,000 to almost 50%, up to 500,000 if it's in the right situation of tax liability going away. That's a huge chunk of your profits. So at that ratio, it's definitely a home run.
You got it. And it works for cryptocurrency owners, NFT owners, artwork collectibles. You can save a failed 1031 exchange. So for any investment real estate people out there that are looking to do 1031 exchanges, and it's hard to find deals that make sense. Cap rates are low. Interest rates are going up a little bit, but still values are way up. And you're looking for an alternative to diversify, to defer your tax, and so that you can create and preserve more wealth, but also have entrepreneurial freedom. I mean, you can be passive and you can retire, which is beautiful part about it. Some people are our clients, they put it 100% into passive investments, 100% into stocks, bonds, mutual funds. But there's also those who want to go back into cryptocurrency or go back into businesses, build some real estate. You have that entrepreneurial freedom with the Deferred Sales Trust, which is a really valuable tool to have. But that being said, we also want to be prudent and wise about timing, and that's why there's a team involved with this. And if you're wondering who are all these people, what are all their roles, Jake, what would you say the three main roles are, and what is the relationship between the taxpayer to those roles?
Absolutely. So in the beginning, there's a client, Mr. and Mrs. person that has something on their balance sheet that is a highly appreciated asset and they want to sell it. For us to make the Deferred Sales Trust work, there is a team, as you mentioned. We bring the dream team or the A team to the table, and that consists of a financial advisor or a money manager of sorts. That consists of a trustee, and that consists of the tax attorney. All right. Now, regardless of some of these credentials, right, essentially to the table, we've got like a CFO or financial advisor type person, a COO or the trigger puller or the guy that's doing all the work and before the eyes of the IRS, right? That's Brett Swarts. And then, of course, we have the tax attorney when we use Campbell Law Firm. Wonderful people, 26 years with a perfect history defending or presenting this before the IRS. And, in baseball, that'd be batting 1,000, right? That's so awesome. The literal dream team of people that can make this happen for you. Why is it necessary that we have so many people to the table to make this deferral of your otherwise sales transaction where you have taxes now?
Well, part of that is because each entity, for the integrity of the trust, needs to be separate. In other words, the financial advisor, third party, which is Jake Muller here, the trustee, which is our role, capital gains tax, which is my role. We can't be one and the same person. It also creates, and same with the legal, can't be one or the other. Makes this team, and I actually think about things that have this sort of like the way our judicial system is set up, with three branches of government. And each are kind of holding each other accountable, looking over each other's shoulder, and working for the best interest of the ultimate taxpayer, the note holder. Transparent. So like Jake is saying, the dream team, where there's many advisors, there's more wisdom. And those wisdom, I like to say that, I definitely have seen Jake Miller, he's more than just a financial advisor, that I'm more than a trustee. I like to say even Campbell Law is more than just a regular attorney. Part of it is because they've created something to have that perfect track record. But when you combine the team, you want to, you should have, some transformational type of exit planning. And that's kind of the beauty of this. That's part of why it's kind of not only just not unknown. I mean, people are getting to know about it because they're hearing us talk about it all this time. It's not because they haven't seen it done. There's not a lot of things.
Hey, Brett.
CPA, and they'll have their tax returns done, and yeah.
You're kind of robot-y. Do you mind if I just kind of summarize what you're trying to say?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah. So basically, one of the main benefits that you get with this is that you get this team of people who can come alongside you and your current professional team and help lead and guide and speak wisdom into your situation, so that we can create the most optimal situation. And it's more than just what you currently have, because we are bringing experts in the field that are absolutely incredible people. Just Jake Miller himself, I'm going to brag on you a minute, is just a genius, when it comes to certain tax, laws and structuring things and whatnot. And you get those types of people when you come alongside with us. And so it's not only just deferring the tax on this one thing, but it's now you've created yourself a team of people that will come alongside you and will help exponentially just increase your ability to create and preserve more wealth and do the things that you want to do in your life. I hope that that I didn't mean to cut you off there, but it was just really.
No, that's good, brother, man. I appreciate it. And by the way, Jake, people don't know all of the stuff that you do have, and I think you should brag on yourself a little bit. Give us the background of all of the things. Like, who is Jake Miller? Like, we just talk about the man with the hair who's a financial advisor, but there's so much more. So give us a little bit more, Jake, of your credentials and your background.
There's so much brains under that hair.
My goodness. Well, I'm not really sure what you want to know. We can talk about back in the days when I grew up on a farm and I learned how to work really hard. We can talk about when I served a little tour in Iraq, for an entire year. And so I have that experience as well. I think, regardless of the education, the bachelor's in finance, the master's in business, the master's in accounting, the real world experience is what really matters. I had a great opportunity to work for a large accounting association mentoring firm. So this firm had over 10,000 members, and the top 400 or so, I was assigned every Tuesday to spend 2 hours with them and help answer their questions. And where did these CPA firm owners get their questions from? Well, it was always, hey, my client went to some dinner seminar with some attorney and they pitched him this thing. I've never seen this before. I've never heard of this before. Jake, can you tell me if this is legit or if there's something better out there, or if we should be against this strategy, if we should admonish our clients not to do this or to do this? And of course, most of the stuff they threw at me, I didn't know what it was. I hadn't heard of it before, or hadn't seen it like that, right? So I had to do a substantial amount of back office type due diligence on all of these different strategies. 19 out of 20 of them were oftentimes not something that we would recommend. However, in my search of all of these things, I came across the Deferred Sales Trust. And let me tell you a few of the reasons why I stand behind this strategy based on my back office due diligence that I had to do from this large organization. One of the things that I would look into as a criteria of vetting strategies that we could conservatively, as an association, recommend to the members that, hey, this can work out for your client are there any precedents where the IRS has tested it, where the IRS has reviewed it, where the IRS has audited it, where the IRS has at least seen it, right? And how long has it been around? Also, in what other situations has it worked successfully? Is the situation that our client has, is it vastly different or is it the same? Now, there are positive answers to all of these questions in regards to the Deferred Sales Trust. And that is one of the reasons why we very proactively like it. Because out of 423 strategies that we had to vet over a period of time, my goodness, there are only 2 that have a perfect track record with IRS, and the Deferred Sales Trust is one of those 2. And I'm proud to say that now that I no longer work with this association anymore because I've gone out on my own, right? I'm very, very happy to be preaching the good news about the Deferred Sales Trust and how people can legally and correctly defer otherwise taxable transactions today to the future and continue to reinvest the bulk majority of their assets minus attorney fees rather than minus taxes, and that they can at large grow what was their net worth into something much greater. Also avoiding this death tax, which is incredibly important for those ultra high net worth individuals.
Amazing, Jake. Thanks so much for sharing that. And I do love the way you say preaching, right? Because we are believers, right? And our goal for you, if you're a skeptic or just learning about this for the first time, is to take you on the journey by being a part of our community, by seeing the evidence and the track record, by getting to know us and our clients and then seeing their testimonials, hearing the deal close stories, and hopefully at one point become a believer and join us, because we do believe it's remarkable what it can do for you, for your clients, for your friends, for your family that are selling assets that are highly appreciated. That being said, Jake, let's dive into the deal close story of the week. And this is the deal that Jake and I, along with parts of his team as well, on his new business partnership, closed for two people. We won't say their names yet, and maybe they'll come on later to share their experience. But Jake, you want to kind of give the overview of these deals, some of the challenges that they were facing, and really kind of a quick close. I mean, we were only, I think it was about 10 or 12 days from the time they heard about us, got to know us, and we closed the deal just I think yesterday or the day before. Yeah,
the day before yesterday. So it was very, very fast. It literally, these individuals, they do real estate syndications. They do real estate syndications, and they have a number of cells that they're going to have throughout the year. Some of them are really small, some of them are medium sized, some of them might be a little bit bigger later on. At the end of the day, Brett and I, we like to, relate things to sports because a lot of people can relate to sports, right? This deal may not have been what I would call a home run, an easy, like no brainer, like the tax pain is so significant, let's do this. So what we ended up doing, because it looked like it could be a base hit, and a base hit might make sense for them because they're going to have several different base hits. If you have enough base hits, you eventually get around the plate, right? And with these transactions, we worked very closely with their CPA. There were some issues back a few years ago with their tax returns on what their actual basis was. So we had to do a lot of extra work on adjusted basis so that we'd know exactly what the tax pain would be. And should that tax pain, minus the attorney fees, be significant enough that they want to do this so they can roll it over and reinvest in real estate again with the Deferred Sales Trust as a future partner. And at the end of the day, it was. And so I want to say, like rapid fire, several meetings over 3 or 4 days, the decision was made that yes, let's do this. And they pulled the trigger. They signed the attorney engagement letter. The attorney was involved consistently, like every day for 3 or 4 days. And all the right paper was signed. Brett got things notarized and overnighted. And we were not an impediment to the deal happening. We arrived at time and everything closed as it should. And the clients had a successful Deferred Sales Trust opening and close of property sale.
Very well said. Great summary.
The next step.
Yeah, great summary. What is the next step, Jake? What does that look like for, in general, what can people expect, like post-close? What does that look like?
Absolutely. So there's a liquidity requirement with the Deferred Sales Trust. They must maintain at least 20% in marketable securities or some other type of liquid investment. But these individuals, of course, because they're serial real estate investors, they will continue to take the bulk majority, roughly 80% of the proceeds, and reinvest it in other real estate holdings. Now, there are 2 individuals involved here. One of them has a slightly different philosophy than the other. So we might have more in marketable securities just to provide some passive income, which would be helpful because it helps accomplish a goal. One of these individuals would like to liberate his spouse from having to work because they want this other income to be coming in. And so we're evaluating whether we do that through the future rentals and the income from the doors, or if we do that just from the marketable securities side of things that we can, with right now everything being at such a discount in the market. And so we're weighing the pros and cons. We're having those conversations. At the end of the day, the client is always the decision maker. But now we've got CFO type financial advisor, strategic advisor helping out here. We've got this amazing real estate serial entrepreneur Brett Swarts over here. And then, of course, we have the tax attorney that keeps us all in line at the end of the day.
You nailed it. Wow, that was really great summary. And also our team did a great job on the transaction coordination and answering questions and going through it. And sometimes it's like the fourth quarter and there's 10 seconds to go. And we've all got to perform, and that's what we love doing. And that's why it's really exciting to be able to help new people, new locations, new states. And so that being said, we're gonna open up for questions now. And so if anyone has any questions or thoughts, comments on anything we just said, on anything new, you can type it in the chat. You can also, if you put your name and where you're from, and then your question, and or just unmute yourself, and then you can ask away. And me, Jake, and Pierce are happy to dissect your deal, to answer your questions, to go through anything about the Deferred Sales Trust.
I did have one question on that deal story. So you said they were serial entrepreneurs. How big of an event was this? And are they planning on doing multiple more, or what was the deal with that?
Yeah, so they have some here in the future that are being lined up. Again, we're evaluating the tax paying for some of the properties that are of smaller value versus the tax paying of some of these that are of greater value. And of course, comparing that to their adjusted basis, if there's any callback, depreciation, everything of that. So it's a deal by deal basis, but these are individuals that I think that over the next 10 or so years, there will probably be, wow, I can't tell you how many properties, but it could be upwards of 40 properties that they're going to buy and sell, buy and sell, buy and sell through various syndications, as well as personally. And so it's interesting because they came together as a package because of a syndication. But each one of them, they have their own properties outside of that, right? And so there are occasions that we have them both on the call. There are occasions that we treat with them individually. And we have some advisors from my advisor team that are working with them on a daily basis when there's a transaction coming up to kind of help make that happen. And of course, we get all of this information in a nice organized packet for Brett so that it makes his job a little bit easier.
Are they flippers?
They are.
Interesting. Okay.
So
it's a great question, by the way. Some people have questions if it goes for short term or long term. The Deferred Sales Trust can work for both. In fact, another deal that just closed in Texas was an assignment sale, and close for $15.6 million. But he actually bought it at 11 and then assigned it and sold it at 15.6. So and the net proceeds just go into the trust, and so it works for shorter, long term. However, again, you got to look at the entire concept and the entire mathematics of the deal, each deal. And so, like Jake said, as it scales as you put more into the trust and have more tax deferred, it scales and scales and scales. So that being said, well said, Jake. Pierce, what other questions do you have on that deal, or any other comments on that one? And also, again, anybody else who wants to jump in? We got Dennis, we got Irene, we got Jay, we got Melvin.
Yeah. So I wanted to kind of pick on Irene a little bit, and I got her permission already. So, so Irene, if you're able to unmute your microphone, we were kind of talking last night about your situation. Would you care to share about that at all and see what kind of potential solutions would be an okay fit or a good fit for you and kind of like your situation?
Sure. I kind of just came across a property that was a very good deal. I have a day job. I'm not a real estate investor per se, but I kind of just fell into something. But this deal has, for me at least, I feel a significant upside in profit, and I just don't know what my next step was. So when I'm at Pierce, we just got to talking about Deferred Sales Trust.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, we were kind of talking, and, with a flip, what's hard is it's hard to meet that $1 million, net proceed, $1 million gain kind of thing. And so I wanted to kind of go through and maybe just talk a little bit about, well, what are some options for somebody who, let's say, maybe has like a $500,000 gain and like $100,000 tax or $120,000 tax. What are some options that they could do if the deferred sales trust is not good, or could it be good if they're going to do more?
Jake, you want to take that?
So yes, absolutely. And I'm also going to bring in Micah's question. Micah asked a question that's going to go alongside of this one too. She asked, back in the other example with the syndication, do they have to do it together? Because this kind of, other strategies out there like the 1031 or whatever, if one person does it, they all have to do it, otherwise it doesn't work, right? With the deferred sales trust, this is actually based on household. And it doesn't matter if it's a business asset or if it's a personal asset. Any highly appreciated asset, this strategy works for. It's not just for business-owned assets, right? Now, with that being said, based on the household, to answer your question, they do this individually. So these two individuals in the syndication are not husband and wife. They each actually have their own spouse, right? They are just kind of business partners in this syndication. They each will have their own deferred sales trust based on household. And then Brett, will you throw out your question one more time so that I can pull that all in, make sure that it connects?
I think it was Pierce. Pierce was at the question, but yeah, the question was, at what point is it not worth it? Would it be worth it at 500,000? The reality is our previous minimum used to be 100,000 and 100,000 liability. And it doesn't mean, especially if you're in California, Irene, right? You're in the higher tax state. We found that if we talk about that, what happens is essentially, everyone throughout the whole country calls us on smaller deals, and smaller, and we don't get paid unless it gets closed. So we've got to spend our time on probable closes. That also could be a double or a single double, maybe a triple too, depending on your overall income, and also depending on your need for the funds, right? So one of the common questions we get from people who are selling highly appreciated homes is, well, if I sell it, can I use the deferred sales trust to go buy a highly appreciated primary home? And the answer is no. But if you're just fixing and flipping and you have a higher income and you're planning on investing the funds anyways, then we can defer it. And in other words, can we keep all of the funds or a majority of the funds growing in there? And the next thing would be, do you think you're going to do this again? This is the first of many. So we've got to cut it off at a certain point. And in each circumstance, we don't ever want to sell someone into this. We want to have those with eyes wide open about what it is, what it's not, what the returns are. And again, we just have found that if it's $1 million and $1 million per transaction, it's an absolute home run no matter where you're from, as long as you don't, whatever state you're in, whatever asset you're selling, as long as you don't need the funds for personal use and you can allow it to defer and to grow. So it's not this is the Rubik's Cube. I don't have it in front of me today because I'm moving, but at this point, I would start my Rubik's Cube and I would start to twist it around, because Irene, your circumstance could be a little bit different. And so what we'd like to do is spend a little bit more time with you. The other thing too is this particular deal that you might buy, let's talk about it once you buy it, right? Once you get it, right? So it's one thing to say what's going to happen on the exit. I think that's wise. Another thing to buy it, renovate it, sell it, so bring, and maybe the value at that point is no longer 500,000 gain, it's 700, right? Because the prices keep going higher. And all of a sudden your tax is a little bit higher. So I know that's a long answer and it's a little bit complicated, but some people, like we did another deal in Dallas, Fort Worth, to give you another example here. They did a $250,000 deal, and that's tiny for us. And we told them that we typically don't go lower than $1 million. He goes, well, Brett, I have $7 to $8 to $9 million. It's the deal that Jake and I just closed. And so he said, if that's the case, he goes, let's do this first one, just to get all the accounts flowing, everything moving. The deal is closing in a couple of weeks. I still haven't met the client in person because they're in Dallas, Fort Worth. I'm hoping to meet them in August when we go there for a Tony Robbins event. But all that being said, they're going to be doing more, right? And they're going to be putting $7, $8, $9, $10 million into the trust. And so for them, it was as much of an education of the deferred sales trust and getting to know us on smaller amounts, because this thing can really move fast and people are getting to know us for the first time. And they're like, this is a huge deal. And for them, it's like, well, it's a smaller deal and the mechanics are all the same. Let's give this like a test drive. And they did the deal. So in that greater context, yes, it was done. Does that make sense, Irene? Or anything to add to that, Jake?
No, I would just add that, the clients, they want to test drive not only the experience of the DST, everything else, they also want to know how I invest. They're looking at making a big transition here. They're very heavily in real estate and they've really never done anything in the market. And they want to see what that's like. And so it's a smaller deal than normally we wouldn't do, but we're going through the process because they're willing to pay the fees. It still does at the end of the day make sense from a tax standpoint. The pain may not be that big, but for them, does this feel good enough for us to do the much bigger deals later?
Exactly. So I don't know, Pierce or Irene, any thoughts or questions on that?
Go ahead, Irene.
I see.
Oh, no, I'm good. No, I'm good right now. Thank you. Thanks for the info.
Awesome.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Our pleasure. Pierce, any thoughts on that? Did I answer your questions on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love how it's so flexible and customizable. I think that's one of the huge benefits to it.
Very good. Well, we do have some people that just joined. We have the Newtons. I like to call them the Newton brothers because it's just fun, and they're actually brothers. Might be 9 years apart in age, but from your perspective, because these were actually clients that you guys brought to the table, we're not going to say their names, but we're talking about the individuals with the smaller real estate deals. How long did it take from start to finish when we introduced them to Brett? What was it, like 10 days?
I don't even know if it was that long. I think it was a sub week, right? So we came to Brett after hearing stuff. We talked about doing it. They had a deal fall through, but then it got back on the books. But they forgot to tell us with any reasonable amount of time that it got back on the books. And so we came to Brett, and I think it was like, hey, this is closing like the Monday or Tuesday of next week. And so then instantly we hopped on with Brett, with the clients, with the attorney, and then we had everyone all looped in with their people, our people, Brett and his team. And it appears somehow we pulled it off sub-week, which I know is not the timeline. That's not the timeline. Good work. When Brett says, hey, I need 60 to 90 days, or I can do small miracles, we chose the small miracles route. We heard 6 to 9 days.
Yeah. Very good, very good. Well, thank you.
It was phenomenal, though. And obviously, your clients have to be responsive to pull that off. But yes, there's a lot of emails being fired off. So great job.
But I also want to say that there was a lot of assistance from you guys as well, because as you mentioned, the clients have to be very responsive. The individuals actually on the phone with them all the time, making sure that they responded and sent over their adjusted basis and working with their CPA and all this other stuff. You guys helped out quite a bit there, and that helped us facilitate the little small miracles that you talk about. So a team approach, again, that's kind of what we talk about here with the DST. For it to be effective and for people to have a very positive result at the end of the day, it does take a collaborative team of professionals who work really well together and with all the other outside professionals, so that at the end of the day, the transaction is not recognized for taxable purposes. There's not a constructive receipt on behalf of the client. And then moving forward, the rest of the story, like if I were Paul Harvey, right? The rest of the story, we'll have to tell you in the future, because now we're going to see how they use it. And there'll be a different story about how they work with the financial advisory team, how they work with the trustee, and with the future dealings. When does the tax attorney come back in, for the purchase and sale of other properties and assets inside of the trust? And so it's not only are we climbing this mountain to try and get to the peak where we have a very successful DST transaction, but coming back down the mountain on the other side, using it. How do we maintain the DST? How do we reinvest with the DST? There's more to the story that we'll share with you in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And this was one of, I believe, the first deals that both of them will likely do using the DST. One of them's in his early mid-30s. And so this was the first one. He's doing a second one already, utilizing the DST, and he's just going to keep using this as his vehicle. So
and the other partner actually does a syndicate, and so she'll repeatedly continue to do different things. And so for us, what was so important was this is the one deal that they were joint on. So either we miss this joint deal and maybe work with one, maybe don't work with the other, or we get the joint one done and now it's in place. So going forward, we'll analyze each one, obviously, but the plan will be both of them use their own trust, repeating, rinse, repeat, recycle type of deal. So it was definitely, it was a big deal for us to land this one because it landed 2 clients for us.
Very good. So in respect to the DST team, we helped you land 2 solid clients that you're going to continue to do more work with.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Very good. I'll have to remember to send you guys a check for that little peanut gallery comment late. No, I'm just teasing.
I felt like the we got 2 clients was the check.
Very good. Very good. Well, we got another Jake here in the room. That doesn't happen too often. I don't know if Jake, you can tell us where you're from.
Kennewick, Washington, up here in the Northwest.
Well, very good. And what makes you join us today, if I can be so intrusive as to ask?
You can be so intrusive. I don't mind. I've done some DST work with Brett Swarts. Looking forward to doing some more DST work, getting some more closes, opening up some more options for clients. And it's been great. It's been great, and it's one of my number one strategies for growth, because when you can take that much proceeds that are going to go to the IRS and put it back in your clients' pockets for additional growth and income and chasing new opportunities, we open up a whole new universe of opportunities that maybe our clients didn't realize we had. So, I mean, if you're an advisor and you're here on this call thinking about whether this is going to be part of your long-term strategy, I'd say grab a hold of it and run with it, because it's a game changer for just about everyone that's qualified to use this. So
very good. Appreciate you sharing that, Jake.
Yeah.
And of course, you've got a great name, so we have to let you speak. One of the other items that came to me just this week, Brett, and it's interesting because we've talked about this before, but it always becomes a lot more real when it's a client that's bringing it to you. And that's, hey, I've got this micro captive that is funded. It's one of those that was actually done correctly, right? It's not one of those that was subject to abuse and, had issues or anything of that nature. It's an insurance company, an 831B that was fully funded. And the guy's like, hey, I'm retiring. I'm sailing off into the sunset. I can take money from this slowly. Or I actually have a company, somebody out there, it's a fund. They want to buy my micro captive from me. And it's enticing. I'd like to kind of sell it to them. But there's going to be a capital gains ramification. I just don't know how I'm supposed to handle that. Anyway, the DST is also available for micro captives. And that works out really, really well for our clients and our individuals for anything that is a highly appreciated asset, including micro captives, cryptocurrency, real estate, and all those other things that we mentioned at the very first of the call.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the value of a lot of things right now that perhaps people aren't as certain on having all of their, or the majority of, or a big percentage of their net worth. And it's more important than ever to use and know the Deferred Sales Trust is available to help you to solve and relieve that pressure. And that pressure is lack of diversification, lack of liquidity, lack of entrepreneurial freedom, lack of maybe location freedom. I know, Jake, you and I are working on another about $6-7 million business sale for a gentleman out of California who's working for 20 years on this business. And this is his life, and this is his financial legacy. His life being business life that he's exiting from, and then now his life with his family and retirement and some sort of retirement. Not that he's very old and he probably will get back in, but he wants to take a little bit of a breather, right? But he also wants that entrepreneurial freedom to be able to get back into something should he go into something, or that entrepreneurial freedom to just be retired for a while. So ability to micro captives or captive insurance, NFTs, business ventures, partnerships, separate partnerships. The deal we just did in San Diego 3 weeks ago, it was a $12.75 million sale, and they developed car washes. And their main goal was to go build and buy more car washes. The developers, they're not in the business of 1031 exchanging and overpaying for properties. They want to buy land at a decent price and build at a decent price, and then build a business and then sell it all off at one. And that's kind of they want that entrepreneurial development business freedom. And so again, the Deferred Sales Trust is fantastic for that. And it's, I think, even more important for also our cryptocurrency folks to take another hit. I think even in the last couple of days with crypto, it's been pretty devastating the last the last couple of weeks on the kind of a crash on crypto. And just to think that a few months ago, people could have sold and exited and deferred the tax and sat on the sidelines and purchased it at a discount. And we give you that freedom and that flexibility to do that. You just have to get to know what the deferred sales trust is, if it works for you. And then again, if you like Jake Carpenter up in Washington, by the way, he's a financial advisor I've worked with for years now. And we, one of his clients had sold real estate, and he was older and wanted to retire and diversify. And he had, I think, next to a zero basis and had a huge amount of tax, and he needed to defer it and wanted to defer it, and but had to go through the process. And he did. He asked tough questions, and he, because he had built his wealth for many years, and he had to get comfortable with us and the structure and the strategy. But that's why we're here, to try to speed up that process for everybody, so they don't have to feel like you're hearing this for the first time. Hopefully you've heard it for the 100th time. And by the time you go to close, you already have that know, like, and trust about the structure, the strategy, who we are, the vision for helping you to grow and preserve your wealth. But that being said, Jake or Pierce, any thoughts or questions, or anyone else in the audience who wants to open it back up for a live deal you're working on, a comment, thought, hesitation, anything, we're here for you. And also show you we're just driving, we're cruising, this is the family. In the meantime, everybody, where we going again? Where are we going? Six Flags, if you can hear them. No one's kind of, hopefully they're falling asleep a little bit so they have more energy. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. We're gonna do roller coasters. We're gonna see the dolphins jump. We're gonna see I think they have a bear there. I don't know. Might have a cougar or something, tiger.
So Brett, I had somebody ask me, they're like, hey, we heard that you guys talk about, financial advisor being a little bit like a CFO and the trustee being a little bit like a COO, but is that really real? I mean, what does that really mean? And well, I explained a few things. Maybe you can fill in some of the gaps. I was trying to explain that in regards to the DST, we treat things a little bit differently, and we try to be very unbiased when it comes to asset class, meaning sometimes they want to reinvest back in real estate. Sometimes they want to be in marketable securities. Sometimes they want to be in and out of crypto, whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, what have you, right? Dogecoin, all of that stuff. Sometimes they want to be in their friend's business. We had that crypto client that we've talked about a few different times that wanted to, it was kind of also an emotional thing, invest in her friend's business. And that's very much allowable, very much doable. At the end of the day, that is a little bit different than just any old trustee out there and just any old financial advisor, in the sense that we oftentimes sit down with a client's advisory team of other professionals they've used in the past, because oftentimes when they do a deferred sales trust, it sometimes requires a new team at the table. And with that being said, we're more than happy, more than willing to work with those individuals, even though somebody else's name might be on some of these accounts and things, just for purposes of arm's length distancing, right? But how would you explain to somebody in regards to the deferred sales trust, how the assets are handled differently, since you're the trustee and whoever the financial advisor might be, because I know that you work with a lot of them. In fact, Jake here is one of your financial advisors, the two Jakes, right? How is it that the assets are supervised from the trustee standpoint, you being a fiduciary, doing what's in the best interest of the trust? Can you touch on that just a little bit?
Yeah, so it depends on the level of the relationship and the level of know, like, and trust that's been established. And a lot of our clients, a lot of my clients are worth a lot more than me and have made wealth the way they've made wealth and have done very well. They don't necessarily need any help with that. And in that scenario, our role is still to review the investments alongside of them, but they must approve and I must approve. It doesn't, not dual approval, it's taxable. It's the first thing to kind of understand. It does take a dual approval to keep a separation between them and the tax. But it's, some of my clients are the opposite when they need, they're looking for that commercial real estate expertise, that real estate advisory type of role. where my background and my expertise and my investing in brokerage and building and all of that with my family over all the years comes into play. So I always say is we'll be here as much as you need or want us in a sense of direction to earn a spot on your dream team. Don't assume and so we get the polarizations and the protocols just like exchange. But the first thing is I don't presume to know more or have more or that they actually even need my thoughts or input. Although I do invite them to be open-minded about different opportunities that might be brought their way. And that also means working with financial advisors like you, Jake, right? And like Jake Carpenter, to be able to see what's someone else's who's a professional in that arena, who's focused in that area to bring to the table. And so it's a collaborative effort. It's a team effort. And one of the biggest misconceptions is, oh no, I'm giving up all my control to this third-party trustee who I've never met before, which is ironically part of why it's doable. And I say met, I mean, deals in the past that have failed like this, according to our tax team, basically they used a trustee that was either too close to home, whether it be actual related party or brother-in-law, or sister-in-law, or a secretary or a former employee, where the IRS deemed that there was really too much influence and too much control, and they're just kind of a puppet trustee. So definitely fill my role in regards to making sure we're providing that service as third party, but at the same time we're earning that trust over time with our clients. Now some clients are very like, hey, we're more so putting it more on me and to help navigate that role. And so it's not a one size fits all, Jake. Now to answer your question, nothing ever moves without their approval. Nothing is ever invested without their approval. We had clients that were nervous with COVID-19, a year and a half ago, and sat in the bank and didn't want to go into real estate or securities. And we just sat in the bank for months. And we don't pressure or push people to have to do anything. We let them know that, hey, the interest rates are accruing on the note, and we do need to get a return. But the good news is we have a 10-year term. So we're not in a rush. We're not in a 1031, 45-day, 180 rush. But we also are aware that we don't want inflation eating up the funds. And so we are constantly monitoring and thinking about strategy and inviting them to make decisions to invest to get the funds working harder. So hopefully that answers the question, Jake.
It does. I guess if I were to ask one more question, maybe Jake, because you're in Washington. Now I feel like I'm in Washington because it's been raining here every day and everything is lush and green. But you mentioned that of the transactions, how things have been very smooth and it's been very good working with Brett. The other day, somebody asked me, well, why does the trustee charge a fee on all of the assets when I have a financial advisor? And my response was, well, because the trustee is the fiduciary of the trust and has to look over my shoulder for the client's best interest. But how would you answer that question?
Is that directed towards me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Well, really, your comment when you kind of started your line of questioning was there's a lot of power to what you just talked about, in that we're basically bringing in a team, and I call it a capital gains repurposing team. So we're going to join we're going to work with, kind of like a football team's got 11 members on there. And so as a financial advisor, you and I kind of play the role of quarterbacking the capital gains repurposing team that is going to create efficiency and coordination with the financial and estate plan that they've already got going on, because these are wealthy people. So each of the member of that team, you're from your linebackers to your running backs to your quarterbacks and everything in between, they still earn their own salary, even though they're on the same team. They have a different purpose, they have a different focus, but if I'm wanting Michael Jordan on my team, I'm going to pay more for Michael Jordan than I am for some first-year rookie that just came into the NBA. And the thing they need to understand is that these are top notch. Brett Swarts is a top notch trustee that knows and understands his role in this whole thing. So, in our job, just like Michael Jordan's job, you're going to spend more for having Michael Jordan on your team, but his job is to put more points on the scoreboard. So Brett Swarts, my job, Jake, you and I as financial advisors, and Brett, our job is to work together to put more points on the scoreboard for our clients, for our ultimate client. And, it's kind of funny, but, my client is actually Brett as the trustee, technically, but we're all working together to benefit the original seller because we want him to be in a position to have more funds, more proceeds to reinvest in new things moving forward, whether it be outside real estate and things like that. And those are all things that Brett has to keep track of. He has to make sure he manages as the trustee to be able to provide good fiduciary advice to the trustor. So incidentally, I don't have a lot of problems with those concerns, but that's a really good point because you can get into the weeds really quick if the client kind of gets a little overwhelmed because they got a financial advisor, in Washington or California, they've got a trustee that's somewhere else, and they got, the estate planning team and Jake Pfeiffer and whoever, you're using for a tax attorney. So it does get a little bit complicated. And, why are we paying Brett if we're already paying the financial advisor, 50 basis points or whatever? So now, it kind of adds up. But I like the way Brett initially, as you're going into the transaction, he breaks those fees down and kind of makes it manageable for the client to wrap their brain around. And ultimately, what it boils down to is, do you want to pay the $3, $4, $5 million tax bill or whatever it is, versus, 1.5, 150 basis points, every single year. So hopefully that made sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. In fact, I wanted to bring Melvin Gatson, if you're here. Melvin's a CPA, and he actually has several clients who are football players. And so I wanted to see what he thought of your analogy there, the team approach, and every member of the team has a job to do and all of that.
Yeah, incidentally, Jake, I position myself, as the financial advisor, the financial professional. I really try to position myself as the quarterback of the whole entire thing. So the financial advisors, as you may know, Jake, they're sometimes in the box. The only thing they really work with is that stock, bond, mutual fund account that they've got, and they don't really even consider real estate as a true asset class unless it's a real estate index fund or something like that. So a lot of times I'm having to move into a position where I'm orchestrating and working with the financial planner, but ultimately I'm building a team around them and working with their CPAs, their attorneys, their real estate brokers. I'm bringing in the deferral team. And I'm playing quarterback to try to make sure that everyone's on the same page. The estate plan, the retirement plan, the capital gains deferral plan is all working together with maximum efficiency and coordination.
Absolutely. And a lot of these deals, there are so many of these deals that are real estate related. And that also means that the realtors, like Custom Pierce, what's the name of your Custom Kingdom Realty, something like that?
Kingdom Luxury Realty.
Kingdom Luxury Realty, yes. And of course, Irene as well here on the call. And everything you're saying, Jake, makes perfect sense because we have the Newtons here, yourself, myself, and all of these financial advisors that just love Brett Swarts. I don't know what he does, but he seems to attract a lot of brilliant people to him. And I'm just fortunate to be here amongst the group, hanging out with everybody. And it makes for a really good time.
He's certainly a good looking guy. But
You guys are too kind.
I know you're talking about. He closed a deal in under a week.
Then
I
when
know, right?
it's gonna close, it's pretty awesome, man.
You know,
Very
And
good.
just driving to Six Flags with a car full of kids doesn't do better than that.
Had we done
and
that, we'd
closing
use
it.
Yeah.
Well, and back in the day, if you had more than one child, that meant that you were a rich man. Brett, how many kids do you have?
We got 5. Everyone say hi. Say hi.
Wow.
Hi.
Hey
So-
Brett, I gotta hop off, man. I got a podcast to do, so I will. I'll see you guys on the next one, and I'll let you guys finish up.
Pierce, where can people find you if they want to find you?
You can go to my website, kingdomluxuryrealty.com, and you can check that out, or check us out on the podcast. We'll be live streaming on Expert CRE Secrets, Capital Gains Tax Solutions YouTube channel, Kingdom Luxury Realty YouTube channel, Kingdom Luxury Realty Facebook channel.
Awesome.
You
Thank
catch
you,
me here
Pierce.
every Friday as well.
I'll talk to you later. Hey, Jake Miller, people want to find you. Where can they find you?
strategictaxsolutions.com, as well as there's an 800 number, 1-800-773-1848. Again, strategictaxsolutions.com.
Hey, Newton Brothers, people want to find you. Where can they find you?
Oh, we just lost them. They just jumped off.
Oh, Jake Carpenter, people want to find you. Where can they find you?
It's equiluscapital.com, www.equiluscapital.com.
Awesome. Yeah, we're out of time now. I don't know. Actually, we have 3 minutes. If Melvin, I don't know, Jake, Jake Miller had a question for Melvin. If Melvin wants to chat or ask a question, we can definitely chat about that. So, Melvin, do you want to come on?
Yeah. I think I actually got a message from Melvin's secretary saying that he got pulled into another meeting with a client. So we're on his computer, we're talking on his computer, but he's not by his computer.
So Jake, where are you out of, Jake?
I'm out of Utah. I have an office in Utah as well as in Kansas. And currently I'm right now broadcasting from the very tropical country of Colombia. Simply down here because of some clients that are doing a business deal out of England with some investors out of the United States with a operation, an agricultural operation here in Colombia.
Wow. There you go. Well, someday maybe I'll be doing that kind of big stuff.
Very good, very good. Well, I think Brett, I think that's a cut.
Yeah, I think it's a good cut. It's a good